Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As I said at midday in Hindi, I'll say it again in English now for the benefit of the non-Hindi speakers. I thank you all very much for your glorification today of Srila Prabhupada, because clearly such glorification is, as you have been making today, is suitable for Srila Prabhupada, and that if I am able to represent him, that is the sum total of my, if there's any quality of myself, that being able to present at least in some degree the glories of Srila Prabhupada, that is my only qualification to be taking this position here. I'm surprised actually to see how much affection and love you're giving me. Surprised because when I see the condition of my own heart, it appears to be dry, whereas your heart seems to be very soft. You have a lot of feelings for Krishna, for Srila Prabhupada, for all the acharyas. So, I certainly don't feel myself very fit to be the object of so much affection, myself not being very affectionate. Read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. How sweet is the exchanges between the Lord and His devotees. How wonderful are those exchanges. And we aspire, we're able to do so, we're able to enter this wonderful Vaishnava culture in which devotees simply center their lives on Krishna and associate with other devotees and cooperate with them to glorify Krishna. So what is going on today is an extension of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes consist of chanting the holy names of Krishna, dancing in ecstasy, as Srila Prabhupada would often say, chanting, dancing, taking Krishna prasadam, and discussing about Krishna. And as we were reading the other day in Bhagavatam, Smarantas Smarayantascha, remembering Krishna and inducing others also to remember Krishna. So this is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement. Take the position of Prabhu to all of you. Take the position of worshipable Guru to all of you, as I was also quoting the other day from Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur in one of his Vyasa Puja addresses, that it is the duty of the Guru to teach the disciples, especially the Bhagavatam, which is the sum and substance of all Vedic literatures. So in the course of teaching the Bhagavatam, he will, in the, especially brahmachari, they are living very closely under the guidance of the Acharya. That means, what it means is Brahmachari, Gurukule, Vasa, Nanda, Gururita. The Brahmachari lives in the Gurukula tradition, living a very humble life. Whatever is required, whatever is ordered, he simply does. That's all. No independent life. Dasava Acharya, just like a slave. Prabhupada translated this. Dasava. Dasavat, just like a slave. Very humbly, Acharya. Sudrida Guru Sohadra, and a very strong sense of here, what should we say? Prabhupada translated as friendship. There's no real, again, English is not the right language for these kind of things. Sohridam, very good heart-to-heart feeling. So a very strong heart-to-heart feeling for the Guru Brahmachari lives in the Gurukul, and then he is under the shelter of the Acharya. Of course, Grihastha is also under the shelter of the Acharya, but not directly in the same strict, regulated manner. So, anyway, the Brahmachari now it's interesting to know that this verse is spoken by Lord Krishna, that, anyway, let me say it first. Acharya, Lord Krishna says one should consider the Acharya to be just like myself. Should consider him as person. And not disrespect him in any way, not think of him as an ordinary human being, because he is the sum total or the representative of all the demigods. That's how Lord Krishna expressed it in this verse. All the great saintly persons. So one may think, well, that refers to the very great acharyas, but here Lord Krishna is referring to what would be the village guru, living in the rishi, living in the forest. Rishis used to live in the forest, but close to a village, and the villagers would come. And, well, there are different kinds of rishis. Some might live deep in the forest, but those who were teaching as acharyas, they might live at the edge of the village, or they might live in the forest, but close to the village, because the brahmacharis would go begging every day. And all the local village boys would come for training as brahmacharis. So the guru is to be respected as good as God. Bhakti Saraswati Thakur was explaining that in the course of explaining the Bhagavatam, the guru will be obliged to explain this verse. Now when he comes to explain this verse, what should he say? Because he has to, if he follows what's in Shastra, he has to tell the disciples that indirectly, or not very indirectly, using the words of Lord Krishna, he is saying that you should worship me and think of me as good as God. No one will say I'm as good as God, except unless he's a rascal. But a Vaishnava will not say he is good as God. But here, he's the Acharya, he's obliged to teach the words of Krishna as given in Bhagavatam. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur posed the rhetorical question, then should he not teach this to the disciple? Should he instead tell the disciple that you should give him a few strokes give the guru a few strokes with a whip? It is his duty to teach what is in Shastra. So my role in ISKCON in relationship to, especially those who are my direct disciples, is that I'm taking the role of Guru, and it is your duty, as enjoined by Lord Krishna, Krishna to respect the Guru in this way. Of course, Guru is one and Guru is many also. So, although your tendency will be to see myself as your Guru, it's also important to see that we have many Gurus. Jaha hoite Krishna prem Shri Guru ha. This is one definition of Guru given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And for some reason or other it's not very widely quoted, but it's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But it's a succinct definition. From whom one gets Krishna prem. That is Guru. So, many or several devotees in their offerings have said that I'm giving Krishna prem and so many things like this. Giving, yes. Giving means I should keep Prabhupada's feet on my head, then I can get. Then I can give. And how is it given? It's, as Prabhupada himself will also point out, it's not the electric shock treatment. It might be the verbal shock treatment, but not electric shock treatment. In other words, it's like that song is there. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Shabda. So it's the abode of pure devotion, but there's the courtyard and the doorway, and one has to gradually enter. So one can cheaply pretend to give Krishna prem, but it is more beneficial to follow the process by which we can actually become qualified to receive that Krishna prem. We have to be, first of all, understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are His eternal servants. He is the Supreme Enjoyer. I am not the enjoyer. This is to be understood very clearly. Then only will discussion of Krishna's intimate pastimes be fruitful. Otherwise, with the wrong mentality, if we approach that with the wrong mentality, then that can be disastrous. So fools jump in where angels fear to tread. The saying is there. So anyway, my function or my duty within this movement, part of that, well, of course my main duty or the basic definition of my duty in this movement is to serve in some capacity or other the mission of Srila Prabhupada, which is the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's everyone's duty within this movement. But everyone, as I was saying, has different roles to play. So one of my main duties is on Srila Prabhupada's order to accept disciples, initiate them into the path shown us by Srila Prabhupada. That is one of my main duties. I have other duties also. Writing books, lecturing, myself practicing. I still have to practice, but one of my main duties, and maybe the most prominently visible one, is that of connecting yourselves to the parampara, which I am so fortunate myself to be connected to. So that is my role. You also have your role to play as servants of this Sankirtan mission. And though my role is apparently superior role to yours, and certainly in terms of dealings this sense of superiority has to be maintained. Someone was asking me recently, that was just over when I went to Bhubaneswar just over 2 months ago. Someone who's fairly new in devotional service, asked me about that. Well, just as with Krishna, we first of all we're trained to understand that we're his eternal servant. But then when we become fixed in that knowledge, we may attain a relationship of friendship or parenthood or conjugal relationship with Krishna. So does that develop in relationship with Guru? The answer is no. Chokudana devaje, jamme jamme prabhuse. It's not that at some point, just like with Krishna, his friends are jumping on his back. So there doesn't come a point when one does that with the Guru. It's always formally, superiority is maintained. You see, it's very clear in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much emphasized this when his very dear and intimate associate Jagadananda Pandit told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Sanatana Goswami asked me some advice and I gave it to him. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I advised him first. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very displeased. He said, why? Who are you to give advice to Sanatana Goswami? He's much, out of his humility, he's asking you. But he's much senior to you. Marja Dalangan, Mui Sharhite na Paris. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I cannot tolerate. Although he recommended Tarora Pisa Hishnuna, to be more tolerant than a tree, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I cannot tolerate transgressions of the proper etiquette. So, I'm taking the position of your guide, your leader, your guru, and I try to take that very seriously, and I trust that you'll also take your position as disciples very seriously. It's not a very light or easy thing. It's not that, well, let's try it out. Someone I heard some years ago there's some talk that he should take sannyas. He said, yeah, well, I can try it out. He tried it out. He didn't last. No trying it out. And you take it up and you take it. Once taking it up, don't go back. So I'm taking this, attempting to take this very seriously. I trust you'll take your role as disciples also very seriously. But at the same time, we also understand that on another perspective is that Jivesvarupoi Krishna Nistodas, that we're all here to serve Krishna, we're all servants. So although I may be serving you, I may be serving in one capacity as Guru. Of course, my more intrinsic position is not that of being Guru, that's being servant of Krishna and servant of my Guru, Prabhupada. And secondarily, in service to Prabhupada, or not exactly secondarily, but as a consequence of my service to Prabhupada, on his order, I'm taking this role of giving shiksha, diksha. But of course, you're also servants of Prabhupada, previous acharyas, and Krishna. So in that sense, we're also the same. We're all here to serve Krishna together. And it's not necessarily that because someone has taken up the role of Guru, that he is more dear to Krishna. And it may be said that some disciple who is very humbly serving is pleasing Krishna more. And it's also not necessarily that the disciple always thinks himself. I was also discussing this the other day. I think that was in response to Vijay Krishna Guru's question just yesterday. That the disciple always feels himself fully dependent on the mercy of the Guru and inferior to the Guru. But if every disciple was actually inferior to the Guru, then the parampara would be always in a state of decline, which is not desirable. So it may be in some cases that by the grace of his Guru, a disciple does more for spreading Krishna consciousness, or is more influential in the world, or more powerful in preaching Krishna consciousness than his own Guru. And of course there are many examples of this. Madhvacharya, both Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya, their official guru, because Ramanuja had several gurus, but one of Ramanuja's guru, Yadav Prakash, and then Madhvacharya, Sannyas Guru, Achyuta Preksha. Madhvacharya and Ramanuja both converted, having taken formal initiation from them, they then converted their gurus to Vaishnavism. So Madhva's vital link in the parampara is considered to be that of Vyasadeva directly. Ramanuja had several gurus, Mantra Guru, and his most was Goshi Guru, and his most important link in the parampara is considered Yamunacharya, who he never spoke to because when Ramanujacharya met Yamunacharya, he just passed away. He just saw his form lying there. Anyway, the point here is that as Prabhupada pointed out in one purport, that the Guru is very happy if he sees the disciple making advancement in Krishna consciousness. Just like a father sees, if he sees his child doing nicely, he becomes very pleased. Oh, very nice. My child is doing so well. So the Guru becomes very pleased if he sees his disciple advancing in Krishna consciousness. Now it's enjoined that the disciple should not be envious of the Guru. It's possible that the disciple could become envious and think, well, why so much attention to him? And why is he chastising me so much? I didn't really do anything wrong. And why is he always chastising me? And in various ways, one may be envious or have doubts in the Guru, and he doesn't remember some verses, or he's not very learned, or he gets sick, he's having his karmic reactions, and suffering pain. You may think it's just like an ordinary person, but one is enjoined not to think like that. One is Navavanyete Kahishit, one shouldn't think of him as an ordinary person. Jota Deko Vaishnava Vyavahar Duk Ishtraijanehataha Harananda Shuk. One should understand that if a Vaishnava is currently suffering distress, that that's actually he's in another way enjoying transcendental bliss. So the disciple is enjoying not to be envious of the Guru, not Gurushu, Naravati, Vaishnava Jati Bhoti. One should not think of the Guru as being just like an ordinary man, or thinking of a Vaishnava as belongs to a particular caste, or not no caste, like myself, outcast. But one should always see spiritual master in terms of his service and relationship with Mukunda, Krishna. So a disciple, actually, Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur gave a wonderful lecture explaining this point, how Vaishnava, well, I don't know if that's called Vaishnava Charitra, Shada Pavitra. The character of Vaishnava is always pure. So, disciples should not envy the Guru, and Guru should also not envy the disciple. As was the case with Yada Prakash, with Ramanuja. When Ramanuja did, there's a story that Yada Prakash was being massaged by the young boy, Ramanuja, who was a young boy at that time. And Yada Prakash was explaining from the Upanishads, giving Shankaracharya's explanation of the name of Vishnu, which Shankaracharya explains that Lord Vishnu is reddish like the buttocks of a monkey. And Ramanujacharya, hearing this, became very sad to hear this, and involuntarily tears dropped from his eyes, hot tears of anger or distress. So Yada Prakash said, "Why are you crying?" He said, "Well, I don't like your explanation. This explanation seems to be not very right." He said, "Well, what do you mean it's not right? It's Shankara's explanation. He's our Acharya." But Ramanuja offered another explanation how actually it means his eyes are like the lotus. He gave a Sanskrit analytical commentary which no one had ever given before. It was just a young boy. Ramanuja, of course, he's the empowered Acharya. And at this time, Yada Prakash could understand that this boy is very dangerous. He's going to smash our whole Sampradaya. And he's defeated me on one point, and he's just a young boy. So he conspired to kill Ramanuja. He planned to kill him. So, anyway, by the grace of the Lord, of course, Ramanuja was saved, and later Yada Prakash was also saved by the mercy of Ramanuja, who saved him from the worse than death, Mayavada. So it may be some that the Guru may say, "Oh, the disciple is he's got so much material wealth, and I couldn't enjoy like that. That's why I became a sannyasi." Or he's enjoying wealth, home, family, all these things. Why does he have such a nice car? I don't have such a nice car. So he may envy it, or it may be that the disciple is more potent in preaching, more learned in Shastra, better behaved, or in so many ways. Better cook, better mridanga player. We didn't see that with Srila Prabhupada. He was better than everyone in everything. He was an exception. It's a fallacy of modern Vaishnava society, or a misunderstanding that every guru, if they're not in every respect as good as Prabhupada in every way, then they're just bogus. This is a misunderstanding. Obviously, Prabhupada was very special even among acharyas. The general duty of an acharya is to teach according to the way that he has heard from his guru. So if one can properly represent Prabhupada, that in itself is glorious, but it is inappropriate to try to be in every way the same as Prabhupada, because he is very special. And obviously the very special representative of Krishna. And the glory of his followers in the cyclic succession will be to represent what he has given. So it is a mistake to think that every guru should be as good in all respects, in every way, as Srila Prabhupada. Not that doesn't give a license for gurus to be nonsense. And say, well, I'm not as good as Prabhupada. But they should strictly follow, but at the same time the tremendous transcendental potency and realizations which are given by them, and Vaishnava qualities, humility, and so many wonderful qualities. The Prabhupada's followers, they can aspire to attain to those qualities. And the sincere endeavor to represent Srila Prabhupada will give others also the opportunity to follow in his divine lotus footsteps. So it may be that, and practically is, that in some ways this we can expect more in present generations, that the disciples in some ways may be more qualified than the guru. They may be more learned in Shastra, in Sanskrit, may have good preaching ability, maybe, especially coming from the cultured Indian family, which is a dying species now. They should put it on. They have these WWF, World Wildlife Fund, protecting beetles in the Amazon or something like that. Some endangered species. But there's a much more important endangered species, far more important, which is the cultured Indian. So that's a highly endangered species. It's rapid, becoming very rare. Those who are following the original culture. So it may be that anyway, still something is going on in some places. That wonderful thing which is imbibed in cultured families, which is Sanskriti. Vedic Sanskriti. So in many cases, if such cultured persons take to this Krishna conscious movement, then it's likely they're going to be more cultured by breeding. This word breeding in English, that doesn't mean just like chicken breeding, but it also means culture that's been imbibed through training in a good family. So, such persons, especially if they come to our Krishna conscious movement, then they're likely to almost inherently be more cultured than their gurus. And many, especially from Bengal and Orissa, many of the devotees joining are going to be more expert in mridanga playing and other facets of kirtan. So that the guru also shouldn't be envious of the disciple, but he should be very pleased. Oh, very nice. You're serving Krishna so nicely, more than I can do, and encourage in that way. Prabhupada mentioned in one purport that Lord Nityananda, on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was able to preach very widely in Bengal, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he left Bengal. Sometimes it's said due to it's clearly there, clearly described in Chaitanya Bhagavat in some detail, due to the bad behavior of certain people in Navadvip. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left Bengali and domiciled in Puri. Of course, there are internal reasons for that also. But then later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Nityananda Prabhu, you preach in Bengal. I don't see anyone but you who can do that, because it requires it's a very difficult job. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying it's not such an easy thing to preach in Bengal, considering the social and cultural position at that time. Even now, it's not such an easy job. The Naxalite influence, communist influence, and Ramakrishna mission influence, and so many other things. It's not such an easy task to preach there. So Nityananda Prabhu, he performed the very special service of preaching in a very difficult place. He did something wonderful and unprecedented on the order of and by the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada commented on this, that by the grace of Lord Nityananda, a disciple can do even more service than Lord Nityananda. He can do even more. Prabhupada gave some examples. I was also talking about this the other day in class. It's just like Ramchandra did something extraordinary by constructing a bridge of rocks floating on the ocean with which he and his army marched to Lanka. But Hanuman did something even more wonderful. He just jumped. No need of any bridge. So, the same way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered himself incapable of preaching in Bengal, Lord Nityananda did it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke about preaching all over the world, Prabhupada did it. So there are many examples of devotees apparently doing more than the Lord, that is by the grace of the Lord. And Prabhupada, in this purport, has encouraged his disciples and subsequent followers, or subsequent generations of disciples, to take up the challenge and do more than even the previous acharyas have done. Prabhupada said it's possible, by the blessings of the Lord, if one has a sincere desire to do it. Prabhupada also said that all my disciples, they should do more preaching than me. Now, how can you do more preaching than him? Prabhupada said that, you see, I'm only taking this up in my old age, you're younger, so you have a better opportunity, you should be able to do more than me. Of course, this only serves to underline the fact of how actually empowered Prabhupada was, that we're struggling on in our own way in the absence of Prabhupada's direct personal physical presence. But that was the challenge. Prabhupada gave you, do more, take it up, become strong in Krishna consciousness. So I would like to request all of you, my disciples here, that you have praised me for what are actually, if you consider all these, you're talking about it's been so many years in ISKCON, which it seems like a lot, I guess if you've only been like 6 or 7 years. But if I look back, I mean, I really haven't done that much, which I could have done and should have done in these 29 years. 29. So, you can take shiksha from me also in that way. That don't be so useless as me. Do something positive for spreading the Krishna conscious movement. I consider my father my first guru. He taught me not to smoke cigarettes and not to mix up with other people's wives. He taught me negatively by his own example, by smoking constantly and mixing up with other people's wives, so to say. So, by his constant coughing, I have my somewhat distant relationship with my bodily father, but I learned from him, I saw that this constant coughing, and I don't know. Yeah, so I decided, why should I smoke? And then I saw that all the trouble he got in by, he made life very difficult for himself by partaking in the quite normal British or Western world cultural practice of mixing up with other people's wives. So I also saw that it didn't bring him any happiness or anything. And he was disgraced and so many things. So in that way he was my guru also. So you can also learn from me